when a Christian tries to proselytize you? Or do you understand, depending on their method, of course, like there are disrespectful ways to do it, but that what they're doing isn't necessarily a disrespectful thing? Um,
Yes, yes. So my answer to that is incredibly nuanced because I used to be a Christian and I used to proselytize. So it's kind of a split answer. When people try to evangelize to me, first of all, I understand why a lot of them do it. Now, some of them I think are doing it because it is something they identify with. It makes them feel superior and they just want to make everybody think like they do. I think that there are people out there that that's the reason they do it. But I also know that there are a lot of people out there who proselytize because they truly believe that there are people going to hell and they are afraid of that happening and they want to do everything they can to try to stop that. And I used to be one of those people. I would literally cry myself to sleep at night over people who were lost and going to hell. So I can appreciate that and I understand where they're coming from. However, I need them to understand that what they're doing is inherently disrespectful because it is colonization. When you're going out and you're trying to convert everyone else to the way you're thinking and the way you're living and your specific values, that's a problem. And it has been a problem throughout history. And on a large scale, it leads to things like genocide. It can lead to a lot of harm, and we can see in history how a lot of harm has been done in the name of Christianity, in the name of religion, in the name of colonization. So I think it's like a double-edged sword. Like I know why a lot of them do it. They're scared, they're worried, they're concerned for my soul, but at the same time, that's that's unfortunate. That's the unfortunate reality that their God has put them in, and that's not my problem or my fault. And so the moment you come to me and you try to tell me that I need to think like you, live like you, believe like you, or I'm going to be punished, it's not a good thing to do. And I
I
don't want
don't,
people doing it.
well, my thing when it comes to it is from what I've grown to understand. Now obviously I told you that I'm a Christian.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I've always been the kind of Christian, and this is not, I know I'm not unique in the sense that like I'm the only one who's ever done this, but I'm certainly the minority in where I'm at. But from the start, I always wanted to know, like I remember I was originally going to my church because my friends were going there, and because it's a Methodist church, they feed you all the time. Um,
Same in the
but
Baptist.
um, uh, uh, But when I was asked, like, hey, do you want to join the church? Even at 15, I was like, I want to, if I'm going to buy into this, I want to know if it's true. And so I've always, and even now, I'm almost 23. Good Lord, I'm almost 23. High school was 5 years ago. Um, always tried to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. And so, like, I remember in high school, it was looking at debates, not just watching debates. I would go on forums. I don't know what they were called, but there were forums where you could side by side look at the arguments for and against God, and like side by side and compare them and all that.
Yeah.
I looked to different atheist and Christian thinkers, all that to say that when it comes to proselytizing, from what I've grown to understand, it's not so much, I live in a state of fear or different things like that, but that if I believe what I believe to be true, and if you believe what you believe to be true, we should try to convince someone else that, this is true, or find out the truth, like you're an
Yeah.
atheist.
Mhm.
I disagree with you. But you think that what you've learned is the truth. So you try to help other people see the truth. You should do that, and so I don't think it's a again, there are disrespectful ways of doing it, but I don't see it as something disrespectful because, if we're going to find what's true, we need to, if I think someone is wrong, it would be unkind to them to, leave them in their ignorance. Just like if you think that what I believe is wrong, I would not think it kind for you to leave me in my ignorance. You should try to convince me that, hey, what you're talking about is wrong. Like, but I'll let you speak.
No, no,
Um,
no, no. I think you're on a good track. No, I agree with you to an extent. But I think that you're making a bit of a false comparison between what I do and what the Christian does. Because the Christian has ancient texts, personal experience, and an abstract spirituality that is interpreted thousands of different ways, so that nobody can really know what is actually true because it takes faith to believe. And they're going out and they're telling other people that they should believe this their way, not somebody else's way, but their way. Otherwise, they could be eternally punished or in some capacity. I don't know if you believe in hell or annihilation, but whatever it is, you don't get the special Jesus reward.
mm,
What I'm doing is I'm not telling anybody there's a specific truth that they need to abide by. I don't know that I found any specific truth that people need to abide by. What I'm saying is that Christianity and the ideologies and the behaviors of my church harmed me, and that other people are also giving stories of having been harmed by these ideologies. I'm also saying that these ideologies don't make sense to me. They're not lining up. And I'm sharing that and saying, hey, you should think harder about what you believe and make sure that it's true. I would never tell someone that they should be an atheist. I would never go out into the streets and try to win people over to atheism or try to tell them that I have the right way to live and they need to live the way I do. My goal here is to, first of all, be a voice for victims of religious trauma, because a lot of people have been hurt by the church and they should have spaces to talk about it, but also to encourage people to think more critically about what they believe. And I say all the time that if you end up as a Christian, if you go through that process and you think critically about what you believe and you deconstruct and you decide, I still believe I'm a Christian, this makes sense to me, then I think that you should take that path. I think that that's the path you should take because that makes sense to you. It's what feels right to you. And that's what you should do with your life. That's what you want to do. I think that's very different than going around trying to convince people that my way is the right way and that you've got to follow it. Otherwise, you could be punished. Right? Like, you see how there's like a difference there?
I can see it, but on the other hand, like of course, as a Christian now, of course, there's a lot I still don't know. I am
Right.
not. I have recent I have recently learned because some I got into a live the other night with someone and they asked a question I have never thought to ask, and no one's ever even brought it up in any debate before. So there's still a lot that I don't know.
Yeah.
But
We're all learning.
far as I can tell, as far as I can tell, I think I've reached. I think I'm getting closer to the truth. I haven't reached it completely,
Yeah.
but I think one thing, well, certainly we should acknowledge that the church has hurt people. Churches are filled with human beings, and human beings, sadly, get enough of them together, and some of them will turn awful. And it is bad when you have, what was it, 2021. You had that giant list come out about the Catholic
The
Church,
pastors. Yeah, the Catholic Church.
um,
Yeah.
and like I mourn for it. These are people who are meant to be, the representatives of God, and they choose to do these horrible acts. But I, this is why I try not to say my understanding because I could be wrong. And I'll leave it up to the experts to argue. Um, but I don't think it's necessarily bad, mainly because when it comes to the fact that this is something that, this is an event that happened 2,000 years ago, we have, um, you know, right now, all these denominations who are, some of them argue and all that. Heck, you have Catholic Church and the Protestant Church. And so, you know, how can I believe in a religion that seems so broken up? And I think as I dived into the differences between denominations and the differences between the Catholic and the Protestant Church, I still think you can come to a decent chunk of the truth without getting into, you know, church politics. Because let's be honest, any kind of politics is tiring, especially church politics.
Yeah.
Um, but I've seen it said, I forgot who said it, but there was an atheist who said, like, if you think there's a paradise that I could have access to, and you don't try to help me get there, you don't love me. You know, if I were to not try to help you get there, um,
I agree with you. No, I actually
yeah,
I agree with you on that. If Christianity is true, if there is a way to be saved, and there are people that are, do you believe in hell, by the way? Do you believe in like eternal torment or annihilation?
I
What's your
do. I do believe in hell. I ascribe to mainly the view that if you know the channel Inspiring Philosophy, he did a video on hell where basically he looked at the philosophies on hell and the different ways that it's written. Hell, it's the way that it's described and the way that the one of the dominant philosophies of it is that it's not a place of literal torture, but that like the fire that is consuming you and things like that are of your own creation. It is God leaving
okay?
you to
So
your own.
but it is a punishment. It is a
Yeah.
type of eternal punishment.
Yes.
Okay. So if we believe that there is an eternal punishment waiting for people, then yes, like if there is something bad about that, if somebody is standing on a train track and a train is coming to them, run, push them off the tracks, right?
Hmm.
That's what I used to say when I was a Christian. That's how I justified it. I would say that there are people standing on a train track. I see a train coming by and I run up and I shove them off the train. And it doesn't matter if they think I'm rude. It doesn't matter if they question why I push them. I saved their life, right? That's how I used to justify it. But here's my problem with that analogy. If I run up to someone and I shove them off a train track and they look at me and they're like, "Why did you do that?" And I say, "Because a train was coming." But a train never came and we can't prove that a train was ever coming. They have a right to be a little angry that I shoved them for no reason, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So so I think we can both agree that the train has to be proven in order for us to justify why somebody is pushing someone else off the tracks.